Hello everyone.
Yeah.
This is Hermes. Welcome to the knowledge sharing platform of Freedom Freak. Today we have a special guest, Diogo, who is a writer and also the investor in the blockchain technology. He's going to explain about blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, Web3, and all those things. So let's welcome Diogo. Hi Diogo. Welcome to the
Hey, man.
Freedom Freak.
Yeah, thank you very much for
Tell
having me.
our
Yeah.
viewers about yourself. How did you get into the cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology?
Well, I think it was mostly through my missus, my lady. She was the
Mm,
one that got into it first, like, you know, a bit deeper. I guess I was aware of it before years ago, but I never really paid attention to it, like
mm.
Bitcoin, Ethereum. I remember hearing about it maybe back in even 2017, 16.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
already working in ITU, but then I really didn't pay much attention to it. And only in the past couple of years, I'd say
Mm,
that I just decided I wanted to learn more about it. Yeah.
yeah. Mostly the medical care professionals they got into this very late. Like mostly the IT professions they got into it quite earlier.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
people that are more involved with technology obviously
yeah.
maybe started paying attention, and especially people even from the world of finance.
Yeah,
I guess they, especially with Ethereum and you know,
yeah, yeah.
I think that's when they started paying more attention to it. But I definitely came late to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I
But
mean,
I think it's
I don't
still
know.
too early, right? Like I think
Yeah, it's still
only
early.
yeah, yeah. I think it's only around 500 million people have adopted to crypto so far.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure of the numbers. I know the market cap is still very low of the
Yeah, yeah,
entire
yeah,
cryptocurrency and DeFi market. The cap is still not
yeah,
that
yeah.
high. I mean, especially now after this year, it's less than half of what it was last year. The market cap. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like a cycle every 4 years now. Like 2009 to 13, then 13 to 17,
yeah.
there was a crash. Then it's like a cycle every 4 years. Okay, let's directly
Mhm.
jump into the first question. What is blockchain technology?
Blockchain technology. I mean, the way I could explain it, I think I look at blockchain outside the context of even just cryptocurrencies or a financial system or even just tokens, because obviously it's more than that. I think
Yeah.
at the moment, most of the applications of blockchain are based on that, on
Mm-hmm.
cryptocurrencies and tokens. But you can think of it, the same way that when the internet came out, right? The
Yeah.
first application was the email, and
Yeah, that's true.
no one really knew where the internet could actually go. And I feel the blockchain is in a very similar position. But what it basically allows is for two parties to communicate without a middleman, in a way that it's trustless. So basically, I can trust the system to keep my, the integrity of the message without having to trust the other person.
Yeah, there's no
Basically,
centralized authority to decide what to censor, what not to censor.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in the broader sense, that's what the blockchain allowed for. It's basically a mechanism of consensus that doesn't need a third party. It's a way
Yeah.
of achieving consensus and trust based just on the code, on and mathematical proofs,
Mm-hmm.
the hash rate and everything. So in the broader sense, that's what the blockchain is, which it sounds very simple, but then it isn't. I think we still haven't seen a lot of what's going to be. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more it's a lot about having ownership over
yeah.
your digital assets and your digital presence. Because when you use platforms like Twitter, Facebook, they you don't really own anything. They have the information
Yeah,
about you, and then they can sell it as
yeah,
they
that's true.
please, and they do it, and they can show you ads and do all that kind of stuff, and all the pictures you put there, eventually if they decide to close their servers, all of
Yeah,
that is gone. You don't actually own it. Blockchain could solve that, but it's not an easy project.
yeah,
There's still a lot of work to be done.
yeah. The
Believe me.
NFT things and have to come for the main adoptions. Okay,
Yeah.
now let's
Mhm.
move on to what is cryptocurrencies. Why are they exist?
Well, like I was saying before, cryptocurrency, the first one was Bitcoin, obviously, and
Yeah, yeah,
it was basically the first application or that uses blockchain,
yeah,
as its foundation. Um, what are they? Well, it's basically digital cash, right? It's that's fundamentally what it is. Bitcoin is almost well, not even cash, more like digital gold, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a way of storing value and you know, making payments
Yeah.
in a way that is completely decentralized without having to use banks mainly, or any other institution, where basically, yeah, it's all about, it's peer-to-peer, like Pirate Bay. And I don't know if you ever heard, like, Pirate Bay is basically a peer-to-peer network, but for sharing files. There's many similar, Pirate Bay is the biggest one. There's other platforms, but it's basically peer-to-peer file sharing. It's very known for piracy, but it's completely decentralized, because in the essence, you're just communicating with other computers, with other nodes. And that's basically what happens in the world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. It's that's why it says it's peer-to-peer. There's no middleman.
Yeah, that's true.
Bitcoin is almost like an improved version of gold.
Yeah.
Like you said, paying in gold is not practical. It's very heavy to carry and to quantify, right? If you're going to pay for your coffee in Starbucks or something, how are you going to use gold, right? So Bitcoin, in that sense, you can see it's almost like a gold 2.0. But I mean, with that said, I still think Bitcoin is probably not the ideal crypto that you'd want to use, let's say, on a daily basis to make small payments. It's slow. It's not very practical. They have the Lightning Network, which helps with that. But still, Bitcoin, I'd say, it's probably ideal to store value, to store, greater amounts of money.
That's true.
Then, the other issue is that it's not very private, right? And that's one of the things that some privacy coins are trying to sort, because with Bitcoin, although you only have basically an address, which is just a series of numbers and letters, if someone can associate that with your identity, basically all your money and the transactions you make are completely public. Which is an issue that sometimes people think, because they call cryptocurrencies, that they're completely private and no one can track them or anything, but it's actually it's
that's a very common myth, like no one can track and all those things. That's true.
It's a completely open ledger, right? It's a public ledger. And that's a big problem right now, and it's one of the concerns I have for the future, because that's one of the things that banks still do better, right? I don't want anyone to know how much money I have in a bank, who I'm paying, and in the sense, banks, they protect your identity in a certain way, I guess. Then when someone when IRS wants to investigate you, maybe they'll disclose some information. But that's going to be one of the greatest challenges in coming years, is the privacy tokens and the regulation of privacy tokens. So we'll see.
As far as I understand about the Bitcoin, as you said, when you see the Bitcoin wallet, you see only the serious number, but you won't reveal any of your identity unless you convert that cash into fiat. So unless you convert them into fiat, you won't reveal any of your identity, right? So how come that?
Well, the issue is, so how do you usually go about? Imagine you only have pounds, right? And you want to get Bitcoin. How would you get that Bitcoin? What would be
ideal way to buy the cryptocurrencies? Would be like buying from the exchange, then from the exchange move on to your private wallet.
You see, and that's where the issue is. Because when you sign up to a centralized exchange like Binance, Binance probably, or Coinbase, those places, right? They do a KYC. They verify your identity. They have your email. So from the moment you buy your crypto through one of those platforms, even if then you transfer it to another crypto wallet, they can trace it. So they'll be able to trace that money back to you.
What if the person has 2 or 3 wallets, and if the person converting the one wallet to wallet, they can finally
it's completely traceable.
They can go back to the
it's completely open, the ledger. You can go on the Bitcoin scan or the Ethereum scan, and I can start, like, it's like following the crumbs, you just start from one account, and then I can see It's completely
from the mining, what are the wallet it has transferred, everything can be seen. Yeah.
So that's the issue right now. So it's not as private as most people would believe.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
if the taxman still wants to like trace you and get you in trouble, if they want to go through that trouble, they can. And there's more and more companies coming up now that they're focusing on that, on associating crypto wallets with identities, where they literally conduct those investigations as a third party. And you know, that's one of the main issues right now that I find in the space, because it's like your financial life should be private, right? It's part of your individuality. If people know what you're doing with your money, how much money you make, or how much money you have, right? They know a lot about you.
Yeah,
it's very like sensitive information. So that's why I think, privacy coins and tokens. It's one of the main things I'm keeping an eye on in these coming years.
And you were talking about some privacy tokens. So currently, what are all the privacy tokens available in the market? And
the main one, the biggest one is Monero. And then you have places like Dash, tokens or coins well, they actually tokens. Monero is an actual coin. Then you have Zcash, Dash. I think they're layer 2, so that they token.
Is Monero is a layer 1 blockchain?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it's a Ethereum token.
Monero, they have their own chain.
Can you explain what is it all about?
But basically, essentially, what it does, it's keeps your information private. They can't trace your transactions. So the chain in itself, it's no longer an open ledger like, let's say, Bitcoin.
Okay.
But they've had trouble even getting listed in some exchanges. A lot of exchanges don't want to list Monero because of fears of regulations. Obviously, a lot of governments are not very keen on that existing. So they've definitely gone through some challenges. But they have a different chain that basically just works in a completely different way than Bitcoin.
If it is completely private, then how about the transparency? Because when it comes to Bitcoin, many people get into the Bitcoin because it has a 21 million cap. When the current monetary system, there's unlimited money printing. So in order to store their wealth, many people are moving towards the Bitcoin. But as you said, Monero is completely private. So how is the transparency? How is the supply and demand is created?
I don't know the exact tokenomics. I don't know exactly what's their cap or if it's deflationary or inflationary. I believe it's also de-inflationary, but I'm not entirely sure. But that doesn't really relate with the privacy aspect of it. It's just related with the technology on the chain itself. They can be transparent about.
They are transparent about the supply, but only the. Okay.
That is not an issue. It's only that when you're actually using the chain, your transactions can't be traced. If I send you, imagine if I send you some Monero using their chain, people wouldn't be able to see that. In the open, like publicly. So that's the main perk, I guess. But it's been very regulated.
I get your point now. Can you tell our viewers about what is Web 1, Web 2, Web 3?
So basically, Web 1, it was this internet where you could only go and see information, right? Read information. You had pages online with like newspapers and blogs, things like that. Web 2 allowed for things like users uploading information to the internet, like YouTube, where you upload your own videos. Facebook, you upload your own pictures, your own text. So that was the Web 2. And Web 3 then obviously is more about the decentralized aspect. The issue with that, it's not very easy to make everything decentralized and keeping a good user experience. Just think about this in this way. If you think, if you want to make YouTube decentralized, right? It's very hard. YouTube has, I don't know how many billions of videos in their servers. And I don't know how many users. And you go on YouTube, you do a search, the results show almost immediately. You click on a video and the video starts playing almost immediately, and the user experience is very good. It's very
Yeah.
curated because there's a team working behind it, and everything is controlled in their servers. But if you try to make that in a completely decentralized way, it would be extremely hard, like very, very hard. At the moment, just the blockchains are just much slower than traditional servers. That's just the reality right now.
Yeah.
It might get better over the years, but I think, at the end of the day, it will always be, in terms of just speed and accessibility, it'll probably always be behind the centralized applications. Because even let's say if you're doing an application, right? Usually to make like real progress and fast progress, you need a big team of people just concentrated on that application, a team that is organized, where everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, and work gets done faster, and things can be optimized, bugs can be corrected. And then again, when you're dealing with open source software where coders from around the world can participate and upload their own updates, suggest their own changes, things take longer to progress. So I think what we end up seeing in the future, you'll have a mixture of centralized applications and decentralized applications. I think for certain things, decentralization will be really good. Like, finance, DeFi, it worked pretty well. Like true DeFi, not the centralized exchanges, because these things we've seen with like FTX, 3AC, Celsius, these were centralized exchanges. At the end of the day, they collapsed because, of human corruption. Because decentralized applications, like things more like Uniswap and Aave, they actually work really well, and those applications are just based on smart contracts, on code. There's no like people behind it doing shady stuff basically.
That's true.
So I guess I think we'll end up seeing a bit of both. I think, let's say, for a decentralized Twitter will probably be possible earlier than later, because if you're just dealing with text, it's a bit easier. The data is a bit lighter. But to have something like YouTube on a decentralized manner, that will take a very long time. That will be very hard.
Yeah. But as you said, the FTX, obviously that was a bigger collapse in the crypto industry. But like for many newcomers, for myself, including myself, when I come into the crypto investment things, like understanding about all the Uniswap and the DeFi, it was too hard for me to go through all the stuff. So the initial stuff always like the Coinbase and the Binance, just paying little bit of transfer fees and getting into that. Only then people are able to go from there to the DeFi system. So I think it's like this layer 3 technology, like these crypto exchanges, they invite many people into the cryptocurrencies, but after once they get into it, they have to realize the situation and they have to move all their coins and cryptos to the private wallets and stuff. And speaking about the wallet, what would you suggest to store the crypto in a better way? What would you suggest in that thing?
Well, there's quite a few options. I think the safest way is using a hardware wallet. I don't know if you heard of something called the Ledger.
Yeah.
So I have a Ledger, and I mostly use it, to store mainly the main coins, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, the things you want to like keep for a long time and just hodl, like they say. Then you should use one of those wallets, because so basically when you have your tokens in Binance or Coinbase, you don't actually own the keys to them. So if and that's what happened with FTX and these other exchanges. They just did a run for the bank and they stole people's money, and then you go to the exchange and suddenly, you can't withdraw. Right, the money's gone, the tokens are gone.
That's true. FTX owner, he was using the customer's money and he's using that to trade in another platform, and finally he lost everything. But when that news comes out and the Binance and the Coinbase, they become more open and transparent about their holdings and everything. Do you think that makes the crypto exchanges more reliable, or still they are?
I think, look, crypto exchanges, they can be great. I use Binance. I really like Binance. You can do staking and all these things. It's a very, I like the, you have access to the markets, to the graphs. You have all these ways of getting different tokens and exchange one token for the other. That it's very practical. It's great, but I think, you know, you can go there, do your trading, and then transfer it back to your own wallet. Because then even if they do something shady and end up collapsing, you can, you know, you have your private keys. You actually own your tokens, your coins, and that's definitely the safest thing like to do. I mean, even there's many ways you could keep a crypto wallet just in a piece of paper, right? You can have the keywords, and those words, once you put in the system, they basically translate into your private key, and your private key is what unlocks your access to your account, either in the Ethereum blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain. So, I mean, the safest of the safest ways is just memorizing the words. Because if you write it on a piece of paper, people can find it. If you put it on your phone in the notes, someone can hack your phone and find it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
actually, there are a lot of news like people lost their access to the password and private keys, and millions and billions of cryptocurrencies gone in that way. Like, I think recently one person, even he dig into the whole house, he destroyed the building and digging into the whole house, searching for the pen drive where he stored his private keys and passwords. Talking about the private wallet, when you're moving from the cryptos from exchanges to private wallet, how much usually the transfer fees? Because last time when I was transferring my coins from the Coinbase to the wallet, it was quite expensive. Like, so is there any better way to do that in a...
Yeah, I mean, with Ethereum especially, the gas fees can be pretty bad. Especially when the network is more congested, and during the bull markets when a lot of people are using it. Basically, the more people you have using the network at a certain moment in time, the more expensive it will be. And with Ethereum, it got a bit silly. You know, sometimes you'd be paying like $50 to move $100. You know, and then again, that's another thing that definitely needs improvement in the in the technology. But I don't see. I think Ethereum is the layer 1 and should be the security layer. I don't think you should be using Ethereum mainnet to do the bulk of your transactions, because the fees will be really expensive. And I think it's a good thing actually that the network is, you know, the fact that it's slow and, you know, it's methodical, it's secure. So what you want to do is use layer 2s. You know, things like Polygon is super cheap. If you do transfers with Polygon, you're literally paying like, I don't know, it's sometimes like less than a cent to do a transaction.
Okay.
And that's really the only layer 2s, or maybe there's other chains that are also much cheaper. I've done some transfers like in Avalanche, AVAX. It's quite cheap if you use their own chain. Solana was also pretty cheap, but Solana, they're having issues. I don't know, they keep having this downtimes, and that chain seems to have quite a few problems. But that's really the only way you have right now of actually saving money in fees, because if you're using actual ETH in the Ethereum mainnet, it's like it's expensive. It's not very practical.
And also, I think this kind of time would be better time to transfer the wealth rather than doing it in the bull market, right? Because in the bull market, even if it is 0.1 ETH, it will be like 300 pounds. But now it's like 0.1 ETH is like only 100 pounds.
And there's much less demand. But the thing is, now ETH is proof of stake, so that has changed. Because when it's proof of work, if you have a lot of people using the network, the nodes will prioritize verifying the transactions of the people that pay more. You know, when you're doing ETH transactions, you can put a gas limit, and you can say, I'm willing to pay this much to get my transaction verified. And then obviously the more you put, the more likely it is for nodes to pick it up and verify your transaction. And that's what ends up driving the fees up a lot. But now that ETH has changed to proof of stake, I don't think the fees were getting that much cheaper.
No, I think even after changing to proof of stake, there's not much difference in the fee. I think they are going to bring another update in the couple of months. Only in that update, I think there will be the slight reduction in the fees.
Yeah. So that's the thing. There's still a lot of work to be done, because a lot of people were under the impression that when they changed to proof of stake, the fees would get much cheaper.
What about the Bitcoin? The transfer fees, is it really too high? Yes, it's been a long time I transfer any of my cryptos from exchanges to the wallet.
I don't see Bitcoin as being the practical way of making these small, everyday transactions.
Okay.
You can use, they have something called the Lightning Network.
Yeah.
Which I believe is sort of like a layer 2, but for Bitcoin. And I think it can also add privacy features, but don't quote me on that because I haven't looked into it for quite a while. So I don't know exactly what they're doing right now.
As far as I understand, the Lightning Network, as you said, it's not quite good for the privacy, but it's really good for storing your value. But considering Bitcoin, the Ethereum, what do you think about the Ethereum? Is it fully decentralized? Because after the proof of stake, I was reading some articles saying that more than 40-60% of the Ethereum nodes are from only a few companies like Coinbase and Binance. So is it a threat for the decentralization?
Yeah, it is a concern. And a lot of people were actually against the change to proof of stake.
Yeah.
Specifically because of that.
Yeah,
concerns over, centralization. Which I don't know. I think it could become an issue. We'll have to see. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. It can be... It's definitely a bit concerning. That, like you were saying, that most of the stakers are just these few, entities. The same way that even in Bitcoin, most of Bitcoin is held by just a few wallets, which, a lot of people also see as an issue, as a problem.
Yeah, but in the Bitcoin, most of the coin has been like centralized by like few holders like Michael Saylor and few other billionaires. They have a lot of Bitcoin. But that could be the issue for the price manipulation. But when you're considering the nodes in the Bitcoin, like it's completely decentralized, like thousands of nodes around the globe. But so they can't change any of the protocol. But for the Ethereum,
the stakers are the validators.
Yeah, validators. So they can even change the protocol, right?
Yeah. It is absolutely. It is an issue. I mean, I thought about that, and I guess only time will tell what's going to happen. I still think Bitcoin will probably be safe as a storage of value. Ethereum has all the really cool functionalities because it allows for smart contracts, which are basically programs on the blockchain, and I think that's such a cool concept.
And also it
has a lot of potential.
I really like the concept of NFTs.
Yeah, NFTs, very cool. I mean, we still don't know how exactly they're going to use, but I think NFTs will be useful for so many things, even for like things like tickets or ownership of, let's say, houses and cars, that kind of thing. They can, avoid so much bureaucracy that exists nowadays just by having a way of proving that you own something that is just, very straightforward. At the moment it's mostly used for like digital art, I guess. For music, it's also growing a lot. Videos, then again, still not practical because videos are big files, so it's not practical to have videos stored on let's say on the actual blockchain. You then again have to use third-party servers, but then that defeats the purpose of it being decentralized. That was an issue with NFTs because a lot of the NFTs, even in OpenSea and stuff, imagine you own the key to the actual NFT, saying that your wallet is the owner of that NFT, but then imagine the image itself, it's not actually stored in the blockchain. It might be stored in a server that is centralized, and all that's saved in the blockchain is a reference to that address in the server. But the problem is, if that server closes, the image is gone, and then you just own a reference to nothing. That's a problem I've seen in a lot of NFT projects. This is the time to actually pick what you want to buy and get. This is the time. Bear markets is where people get rich. It's not in the bull markets when everyone's excited and the prices are already up, you can make very little money there. When everyone is already pumped and saying, oh yeah, this is going up, Bitcoin is going to 100k, this and that, usually if you only get to the party at that stage, you're probably a bit too late, which happened to me in the previous bull market. I definitely feel I got in too late. But now the bear market, now it's where you can make money actually, if you're smart with your investments.
The final question, like for the beginners who are coming into the crypto, what would you suggest? Like any sources of learning the information, any books or podcasts?
Look, what can I say? Something I can say is the space is full of these so-called influencers on YouTube and Twitter. Just avoid that like you would avoid the plague, because a lot of it is just scams. It's a lot of people getting paid to promote certain tokens that are just shit tokens. They're just pump and dumps. And the market at the moment, unfortunately, it's full of that. So
especially the Shiba Inu, Dogecoins.
Well, those are not even the worst, because those are still around and they actually work. Like Dogecoin, I mean, people say that actually the technology is pretty good. It actually works pretty well. But then again, I think people should be very careful. There's a lot of influencers out there, a lot of YouTube channels, even the biggest YouTube channels. They just, they're fucking scammers, a lot of them. They're getting paid to promote certain tokens. And avoid that. I think to learn the technology, just stick to the fundamentals. Try to understand, start with how Bitcoin works, because that was like the first generation, right? And then go into Ethereum and smart contracts. There's a very good book I've read at the time, which is called Mastering Bitcoin. It's by Andreas Antonopoulos, which, by the way, is a channel I recommend. Andreas is a computer scientist. He actually knows what he's talking about, and he has really good content on blockchain stuff, more related maybe with the technology and considerations for the future. His books are very good. Mastering Bitcoin is very good, especially the first few chapters, because then it gets technical. Is about coding. And the same thing with Mastering Ethereum. The first few chapters, if for people that are not into coding, they're very good, and they really explain to you what's the big deal about this technology and how it works. I really recommend those books. In terms of podcasts, probably, well, you have Coin Bureau is super good. Coin Bureau, they have a podcast and they have a big YouTube channel. Coin Bureau is one of the few channels I actually recommend, because he's not about like promoting these pump and dumps and hyping things. He makes really educational, really good educational videos, detailed videos. I really like him. In the podcast realm, I also really like Bankless. I don't know if you heard of Bankless.
Bankless, I've seen videos, but I always follow the Coin Bureau.
Coin Bureau is very good. Bankless is more maybe orientated towards the financial side of things. So sometimes it can get a bit technical, because they talk a lot about like finance and what's happening in the markets. And sometimes if you don't like understand a lot of the lingo, which I don't yet, it's a bit hard. But they seem to also be, quite good with their stuff. They also have a really good newsletter that I'm subscribed to.
Coin Bureau?
Coin Bureau, yes, and also Bankless. Coin Bureau also does a really good newsletter. Like every week he releases just an article where he kind of explains his current thoughts on the market, how's his portfolio doing. And that's also very good to stay on top of things. These guys, they're doing really good stuff. Absolutely. But be careful. There's some stuff out there that is just like Beat Boy.
Working behind the scenes, trying to save crypto, while these devils, Sam Bankman-Fried, Brian Armstrong, they're trying to
I don't know. I'm still not sure how I feel about them. But these, I'm just talking about like the biggest channels, I guess. The most followers.
I forgot to ask the most important question. CBDC. Since you're more concerned about your privacy, what do you think of the central bank digital currency? Like, I think India, they launched in the last month, and even here in the UK, they are going to launch very soon.
I think they still have years ahead in terms of actually preparing the technology. I think they run the first few tests with certain functionalities. but it's still not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very dystopian. I think they're just trying to catch up with what's happening in crypto in a way they can maintain control of the markets. So I don't really support that side of the story. I think it's actually very bad. Because then again, it won't be different from the fiat system. If they're controlling the supply and well, if they have information about what transactions are happening and they can look into what you're doing, then it's not very different from the normal, system. It's actually worse.
Yeah.
It's actually worse because they want to eliminate cash, because cash is still the best way of staying private. You go to an ATM, you get £50 out, right? No one knows what you're going to do with those £50, and they can't be tracked.
Yeah.
And this, basically, they want to eliminate cash, and make it digital, which is it's worse. It's like it's worse than what we have right now.
Yeah, that's true. I was reading some articles saying that the central bank digital currency might have expiry date, and it could be programmable that you may not be able to buy certain things. Because currently, I think it's only available in China. The features what they have included is expiry date and the programmable money. Like you can't buy certain things.
Yeah.
So do you think that would be the things for all the countries, or?
I don't know. I think obviously in China it doesn't surprise me, because it's it's an authoritarian communist regime, and they're all about that, right? They have this amazing firewall around the internet where they can literally control all the information that gets in and gets out. And adding that kind of digital currency is just an additional tool to what they already do, where they can censor people and control people. Because if the government has the power to tell you, look, if you don't do what we tell you, we won't allow you to buy anything or pay for anything, and suddenly you can't pay your bills, you can't pay for your mortgage, you can't pay for food, then that's it. You're done, right? So I mean, it's scary. It's really scary. I hope we won't come to that in places like more in the Western countries like Europe and even USA, but sometimes it seems we're going in that direction, which is definitely very concerning. I do feel sometimes that we don't have as much freedom as we think, especially compared to just a few decades ago. I think we're in a very crucial time. We need to really pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Because otherwise it's like, we're done for. We're done.
Especially recently I was watching some YouTube videos. Like the videos are fully sponsored by the banks, and they've been talking all the positivity of the CBDC. Like CBDC, the bank can have all your credit history, so that will be very useful for you to get a loan easily. Those kind of
to not get a loan. To get a loan or not get a loan. It's very bad. Of course they're going to try and sell it as a really nice thing, and the media is probably going to help them, the traditional media. Then again, that's why I don't own a television. I don't watch television. I don't watch the traditional news outlets. I don't follow. I look for the information myself in the internet, in places that I think are trustworthy, and I try to listen to what other people are saying, the opinion of others, what people write in the comments, because I mean, most people, that's it, they get their news, their information from the same places, and then the governments can control that, and they do.
That's true. Okay, so, I think we can wind up our section. It's been okay, thank you so much for giving your valuable time.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me.
I hope our viewers get a lot of information from this video. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.